Well, it feels like the dust has settled a little bit here after two contentious matchups between the Indiana Fever and the Phoenix Mercury this week. Obviously, we saw Caitlin Clark leave Wednesday's game with a back injury, and after WNBA review, a suspension issued to Mercury forward Alyssa Thomas for her actions towards Caitlin Clark in that game on Wednesday. Well, here on Friday, Stephanie White, head coach of the Fever, telling us that Caitlin Clark is out with that back injury for Saturday's home game against the Los Angeles Sparks. What's nice about that is after Saturday, the next Fever game isn't until July 5th, so a lot of time for recovery there. But let's talk about what kind of led to that situation, right? She's getting beat up all throughout Wednesday's game. Obviously, the Alyssa Thomas situation happens after league review, a one-game suspension issued. Stephanie White coached Alyssa Thomas. She knows this woman and how she plays. She spoke about, did she believe this was an appropriate response from the league to protect their star, Caitlin Clark?
It's taking a long time.
Okay. I guess just first off, how is Caitlin after Wednesday, and do you have any updates?
Yeah, she's okay. She's going to be out on Saturday, but she's doing all right.
Do you have any indication right now of how long she will be out?
No indication. Obviously, it's a good time because we have all week next week, so we'll take this opportunity just to get her treatment, get her healthy, get her back on the floor, and see what happens. I mean, you know, it's the same thing. Long-term health and wellness is the most important thing.
Consider this precautionary. Like, is there any chance she could have played tomorrow? Was there pain? How would you describe the decision?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, again, we want her to be healthy, physically, mentally, emotionally, all the things. And, you know, I think it's important to remember, again, when you've gone through injury and the traumatic aspect of injury, especially that she had last year, it's ups and downs, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally, and making sure that she's 100% ready to go is the most important thing, and her taking care of that is priority for us.
A couple things to wrap up the last game. Did you hear from the league after your comments about how it was officiated and things of that nature?
I didn't hear from the league. I'm sure Amber probably heard from the league.
Did you get a fine?
I have no idea yet.
Did you think the follow-up from them about the flagrant trend suspension was a fair response to what happened?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I think the biggest thing for me is that we have to see it in real time. I mean, yes, I'm thankful that the league went back and, you know, used their ability to go back and to review it, but you know, these are things that we can't miss in real time. We've got to be better. You know, I think I'm pretty consistent in messaging that we need consistency in how not just how a game is officiated, but how players are officiated, and how Caitlin is officiated. And we need consistency in that, and we need to continue to hammer home that messaging. You know, and I think that it's obviously one of the concerns of every coach in this league is consistency of officiating, you know, and for us in particular, consistency for her. But I just, you know, I'm disappointed that it wasn't recognized in real time, but I'm thankful that the league went back and did their due diligence.
You mentioned that the consistency's been a conversation from last year to this year. Do you feel like any strides in officiating have been made, or there's still a problem?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I feel like there are strides because they're calling more stuff. You know, freedom of movement has been a big point of emphasis for us. I do think it's better. You know, I just think, again, and look, consistency is subjective. Like, I recognize that I'm a coach of the Fever, so I'm going to be biased towards the Fever. So certainly I recognize that. But at the same time, you know, we want play types to be called the same way. And that's the messaging that we're going to continue to send to the league and continue to harp on with the officials.
With Caitlin out against Portland last time, you started ties. That's what you plan to do again, or switch up?
I think we're anticipating, you know, starting tie. You know, we'll get opportunity to look at her today and practice and go from there.
Just with Caitlin out, just how does everyone else need to adjust, step up?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody just needs to do a little bit more. You know, certainly you can't duplicate what Caitlin brings to the floor, and no one person is going to do that. So everybody just needs to give a little bit more, and you know, we need to collectively elevate.
Bo's been more productive the last couple of games that you talked about before that, trying to find her way in her spot. Have you seen her get better at that, and what to you has made her a little more productive these days?
I think she's been more confident and more assured, and I don't say that just because she's making shots. It's her movement patterns. It's how she's getting out of screens. You know, how she's attacking the glass. There's more urgency and I would say more conviction in what she's been able to do, and you know, I think it's finding her way. Again, when you're playing with our big three, it's continuing to learn how to find your way in that. I feel like Mo's doing a better job of that. I feel like she's getting more comfortable in that, and I'm proud of her. It's tough. It's a tough adjustment for her, and she's continuing to put one foot in front of the other. The other thing that I'm really proud of her for is, regardless of her struggles, her voice is always heard. Her leadership, her communication is always there, and that's important. She's a vet in this league, and she understands.
Steph, having coached AT before, were you surprised by the incident?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I didn't see it in real time, and so when I went back to see it, I was surprised. I was more surprised that it wasn't seen by the officials in real time. I think the eye discipline, for lack of a better term, sometimes I feel like all the officials are watching the ball and nobody's watching the play. You have a player that's down on the ground, certainly some things are going to happen. So I was very disappointed that they didn't see that in real time.
Obviously a lot to talk about when it comes to the Indiana Fever, and we got you covered here on Channel 13 and on our streaming platform. No question about that. Next up for the Fever, Saturday night at home against the Los Angeles Sparks, 8 o'clock. Again, no Caitlin Clark in that game. Keep up with us here on WTHR for all your Fever coverage. Here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, I'm Dominic Miranda, 13 Sports.